We've got 19 days left, folks. All three presidential debates are in the history books. We've got a ton to break down on the final clash, beginning with the biggest newsmaker of the night, this one.
Do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time.
One of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
okay?
Chris.
And that elicited a sharp and pointed response from his opponent.
That's horrifying. You know, every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him. He is denigrating, he's talking down our democracy. And I, for one, am appalled that somebody who is the nominee of one of our two major parties would take that kind of position.
Trump's questioning of the integrity of our presidential election has been met with widespread criticism on both sides of the aisle. Today, he addressed the fallout and added some gasoline to the fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a major announcement today. I would like to promise and pledge to all of my voters and supporters and to all of the people of the United States that I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
Oh my God. So, not content to leave that story to die, he just added more to it, but we'll be talking about it a lot more. Eric, when he said that last night in the debate, did you immediately think, oh, there's your headline?
I did, not because it had any substance to it, because I knew the right and the left were going to both grab onto that and say, look what he's doing in advance. If he's kind of setting the groundwork that he's going to say it's a rigged election. For a long time we've said, or I've said, I don't think this is a great strategy by him. I don't love this, but he's going to go ahead and embrace it. I still don't get it, but nonetheless he did. And I think that right there he was just being tongue-in-cheek. If I win, ha, ha, ha. But so let's talk about what that statement is. Is it that big? Listen, everyone is making a huge deal out of this, but why is it that big? Why is it so important? Okay, so he says, you know what? Maybe I will say it was rigged if I don't win. But it's commonplace. A lot of people, a lot of people have said the election was rigged. I was supposed to win. 2004, great example. Ohio, 2006. It's been Democrats doing it as well. And don't forget, this is a guy who stood on a stage and said, had people say, will you support the eventual nominee? It ended up being him. And all of them said, yes, we will, and not all of them have.
Okay, I'm not sure what's the relevance of that?
He's been burned by even people in his own party in the past, so he's just saying, hey, let's just wait and see what the results are. He's not, I mean, look, if he loses and it's not going to be hanging Chad situations, I can see, okay, he lost, he'll move on.
All right. Juan, you want to respond to that?
I think that he's sowing distrust of the American political structure with people who are his most ardent supporters. I mean, the Trump supporters really believe Donald Trump, and he is now sort of inculcating this idea that, you know what, this American political structure is rigged against us. We will never get a fair shake. You go to vote and it won't be properly counted. So the result is Republican campaign election officials are coming out and saying to Donald Trump, stop, don't do this. This is not right. We, in fact, run the election system in so many counties and states, and you're saying we're not to be trusted. So it goes beyond the moment. It goes beyond this election. It's people losing faith in our democratic processes and in democracy itself as a result. And I think that's irresponsible. I mean, you know, Hillary Clinton turned it into a joke. She said, well, Donald says everything's rigged when he didn't win the Emmys. And he said, I should have won it.
But that was pretty funny, although, on his part.
Yeah, but I mean, but we're talking about a real serious issue here. We're talking about, you know, the heart of the political structure.
Well, speaking of serious issues, Kimberly, the first of these 30 minutes, I thought, especially Chris Wallace, the moderator, who has received widespread praise for his role last night, he really hit several substantive issues: guns, Supreme Court, immigration, and abortion right away.
Yeah, right away he got to the meat, and I think also it was very important because he set the tone for the evening, like, listen, this is, you know, big boy time, girl time. There is not going to be any messing around. And he checked the audience, too. So I think everyone was like, wow, okay, this is going to be straightforward. And I think from there, it really lent itself to success for the night, and people got to listen and hear. I mean, I think Chris Wallace gave a master class in debate moderating. I thought he was fantastic and brought the best out in terms of both of the candidates, making them both look, presidential in terms of answering the question. So it was great. I liked it a lot.
What did you think from, where did you guys watch it? Because you guys came home on the red eye last night.
I watched it in my hotel room.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did. I had the hotel robe on, and I ordered myself a nice piece of meat. I thought Chris Wallace
okay, Hannibal Lecter
tried to achieve the impossible, which was to find the high road in quicksand, and I thought he did. I agree with Eric about this controversy. I mean, being surprised by that is you should be surprised by sunlight. That's pure vintage Donald Trump. It's not a refusal. It's more like a natural outgrowth of his negotiation. It's like, I'm not going to, everything's on the table for him. It's always going to be on the table. He's not going to tell people what he's doing. That's his shtick. I don't think, it's weird. Every time a Republican does something, it's horrifying. But you could find 5 or 6 examples of somebody on the left doing the same thing, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Occupy Wall Street or Senator Sanders, even Barack Obama, talking about division, talking about the little guy being screwed. And that's considered majestic and romantic. You have somebody on the right who's doing it, and it's somehow the whole democracy is under threat. Everything's going to be destroyed. I think he's just having that, to me, is harmless and kind of funny.
Can I just throw a couple of examples out as well? 2000, Jesse Jackson said, we have to check the integrity of the system. Salon in 2012, is the GOP stealing Ohio? 2000, New York Magazine, Rolling Stone, 2 occasions, 2 years apart, saying, was the 2004 election stolen? Yes. Howard Dean actually says the voting machines were not reliable. And Fahrenheit 9/11. The left has been saying this exact same thing that Donald Trump has said for the last 16 or longer years.
There's such an important point to be made here, Eric.
Is after?
Al Gore. Yeah. Al Gore, when he lost in a highly controversial election in our lifetime, something all of us at this table lived through, Al Gore said, you know what?
When, though?
When?
Well, I think that there is.
One day after the Supreme Court.
They went to the Supreme Court, and he said, you know what, even though, and to this day you can hear it from some part, that, in fact, Democrats got more votes than Republicans. Gore got more votes than Bush, but guess what? Gore cleared the way and acknowledged President Bush. What you're talking about, there are people who are not the candidate. Donald Trump is the candidate. That's my point to you.
Yeah, but you
He's not Rolling Stone or some other magazine.
Well, let's
Jesse
see what
Jackson.
happens.
No.
If there's, by the way, for the record, I don't agree with voter fraud. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
But the only way that you and Greg can be right on this point is to say, oh, well, he thinks it's just like a TV reality show, and he's saying,
with the season finale.
Yeah, hey, this is a teaser for next week. You never know what's coming.
That's kind of how I looked at it.
But then what would that mean? That he really thinks he's already lost? That he's not playing to win this election anymore?
Man, are we overthinking a quick throwaway line?
That was not a throwaway line.
It just felt like it to me.
Chris Wallace gave him a chance to step out of the hole, because once he stepped in, Chris Wallace said, hey, let me just be clear. In America's historical traditions, the losing candidate always gives way. Mr. Trump, what do you say?
If he does lose the Electoral College, like, say, a Romney margin of loss, you think Donald Trump's going to say this was rigged and I should have won?
That's what he just said.
Oh, I don't know if that's what he said. I'm not sure that's the interpretation.
What's worse than what Trump did? Okay, so Trump says that, but it's not necessarily a falsehood or anything. It's just a comment. Meanwhile, the thing that drives me crazy, and I think the left has pioneered this, the anecdotal story about somebody that they talked to. President Obama, candidate Obama, used to do that all the time, and she did it a couple of times yesterday. And it's like, I just want somebody to go, what is this person's name? Where are they from? How long have you known them? Because I don't believe you. I don't believe this conversation ever took place.
Well, the woman, the young girl that Carla, is the woman that actually was she was the little girl that she made the ad about. That actually was a real girl. And that was.
Are you sure, Dana?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, the thing is that as Charlie Hertz.
I wasn't talking about that one, by the way.
Okay.
I was talking about a different one.
All right. But you don't know who it is either.
I refuse to listen. I fell asleep.
All right. I've lost control.
Because of the state.
Kimberly.
Yes. Well, it's
But-
heavy in your stomach.
Yes.
So there might be some who think this is no big deal. But the fact is that headlines across all the papers, that this is what everybody is talking about.
This was
and
the
so it
lead.
leaves the structure of the race unchanged after last night's debate.
Right, and so you're talking about that instead of the other issues and the specific answers to the questions that Chris Wallace was actually able to nail them down on. So the lead today, which I heard 3 million times and read everywhere, was contesting the election, and you saw him getting criticized by the right, people in his own party, criticized by the left, and it felt a little bit like a squeeze play. And I'm like, let's talk about the other issues that happened and what their specific answers were on national security and on immigration and some of the other things that were
But
so
he gave
important.
them the rabbit to chase.
Of course, and that's the
That's his fault.
sad part, and that's why we've said for the last few days this isn't a great debate or dialogue to be having right now. You point out rightly, Supreme Court, Second Amendment, abortion, and immigration. Right away, in the first 30 minutes, the first 4 topics, and Donald Trump drew a line and said, this is where we are on these policies, major policy issues. Here's where she is. And he nailed that. And then he went ahead with this thing. I just don't really get it. Maybe there's something on the backside of this. I don't understand. But you're right.
And
so
then good
every
on
paper and
foreign
every lead
hotspots,
is
too.
about this comment.
Yeah.
You know what? You're upset.
Well, because I think there was an opportunity. I think, yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
can
think
see
he
some
squandered a
Trump
great
supporters
opportunity.
last night. I watched some of the coverage, and they would say, I wish he would have said this. I wish he would have said that. And they come up with really great things that he could have said. But that's not what he said, and this is the situation. And actually, you do have some Republicans trying to defend him today using things like in 2000, but I think the big difference is Al Gore challenged Florida. Now, Al Gore called and conceded to President Bush.
Yes, he did.
Then when they flipped Florida back, he called President Bush back and said, I'm going to take back that concession, and that started the recount. And what Gore wanted to do was selectively choose counties from which to do the recount, when Florida law said you have to do it all across the state. And David Boies, who was the attorney for Al Gore, actually in his autobiography, is very explicit that they were trying to harvest Democratic votes in those counties, and that's why there was that big fight. That was after the election was held, not beforehand. I think that's maybe the distinction.
Can I just one more compliment to Chris Wallace? He was like I called him the nonsense fireman. Whenever it seemed like it was going to go off track or there was going to be a little bit of nonsense, he took out the Chris Wallace fire hose and he just put it out, and then it just got back onto track. And I thought that's why you had a clear. You could see a clear definition between the candidates, minus the fog of chaos and hysteria that we've seen for so long.
And he did get acclaim from both sides.
Everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Instantly, and from all the
now on
other
they should have
anchors.
all the
Yeah,
debates
network.
on Fox News.
Chris Wallace.
With Chris Wallace.
I think we
That
should
was
add
work cut out
another
for him.
one.
Yes.
All right, we
Chris
got to run, or we're going to run out of time.